Bry's Comics.
In this video, we're talking about a spec that took 12 years to pay off and how you can use what happened in this scenario and hopefully apply it to current modern comic book speculation so that you can make a lot of money, or you can collect the books that you love at cover price or at a cheaper price. Whether you're a comic book speculator or a collector, everybody would like to get better deals on comic books, and that's a big part of what this channel is about. If that's something that interests you, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment down below, and it will enter you to win a 12-cent X-Men comic. Each and every month we do a giveaway here on the YouTube channel, and we also do a giveaway over at bryscomics.com. If you sign up for the newsletter over there, you're entered to win a free slab each and every month. And we're closing out the year with a bang over on my Whatnot. $1 starts on all of these bangers. The original Warren Lau Power Girl. Tons of new stuff is coming in. I'm going to be adding to the show soon. And in addition to all of these slabs starting at $1, we're going to have 10 CGC slab giveaways, and we're bringing back the wheel, y'all. This time it's not going to be quite as good of odds for you guys. It's definitely going to lean a little bit more in my favor, but you know what that means.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
That's right, you're saying there's a chance. So the way it's going to work is if you win 2 of the 10 CGC slab giveaways, you get to spin the wheel. On that wheel is going to be 10 spots this time. 9 of the spots are CGC Signature Series premium slabs. And if you hit one of those spots, you get to pick one of the slabs that you want. The 10th spot on the wheel is $500 in cash. And if you hit that, you win the $500 in cash. Link in the description for $15 towards your first purchase. I'm also going to have some items in the buy it now for $15 so that you can come by and pick up a free book if you use my link to sign up. So let's dive a little bit deeper into this book that we're talking about here today and the examples that we can draw from it. We're talking about Hulk #1 from 2008. So let's set the scene a little bit for Hulk #1. When it came out, what was going on in 2008, the key significance of the book, the different variants, the census count, what they're selling for. Let's dive into it. All right, so here we can see, first of all, the key significance, Hulk #1 from March of 2008. The first cover appearance of the Red Hulk, General Thunderbolt Ross, also the death of Abomination, initially suspected to have been shot to death by the Hulk, but later revealed to be murdered by the Red Hulk. The first team appearance of a new Winter Guard roster, Red Guardian, Ursa Major, Crimson Dynamo, and Dark Star. And here it says that debatable first, the interior story is about a murder perpetuated by who is believed to be the Red Hulk, Bruce Banner. Doc Samson, as an investigator, is piecing together what occurred, and the panels depict a recreation of events from his point of view, with the belief that it is Bruce Banner, the Green Hulk, who is the killer. And then we have the spec here in October of 2022. Really spiked this book. Harrison Ford has been cast as General Ross, but no word yet on if Red Hulk will appear. So that's what everyone's speculating on. And so Hulk #2 is actually the first appearance of the Red Hulk in story. So I'm going to just go on record here to say that the debatable first here doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if you consider this the first appearance or this the first appearance. Hulk #1, this book here will always be the money book, because for 3 simple reasons. 1, it has a better cover. 2, it has the #1 on it. And 3, it's the first time we see the character on the cover. And that's what collectors have established in the market time and time and time again, is books like this always lead over books like this. We saw it with Thor #1 and 2 with Jane Foster, and there's countless examples of this. If there's a better cover appearance of the character and it's even close to a first appearance, we tend to call that the first appearance. Either way, this is always going to be the money book for the Red Hulk. If I had to guess about the sentiment that was going on around 2007 when we started getting previews from Previews magazine about this new version of the Hulk, Red Hulk #1, and all these solicitations, everywhere you look, we're getting shoved Red Hulk, Red Hulk, Red Hulk. I would have to guess that I wasn't like fully into the comic book community back then, about 14 years ago, but I would expect that the sentiment was kind of like, who cares? Another version of the Hulk. Like, am I supposed to get excited about this? It's just another version of the character, another twist that's probably going to go nowhere. The reason I think that that was the sentiment is when you look at the sale prices of CGC 9.8s, they were selling for right around the price of the grading fees for years after this book came out. So it leads me to tip #1 that can be drawn from this whole little Red Hulk phenomenon, which is it is important to pay attention to new iterations of tried and true MCU characters when they come out in comic book form, because the MCU is constantly evolving. It's not going anywhere. They have to keep putting out new movies, new TV shows, new Disney Plus series, and they're going to have to use the tried and true characters. But they can't just use the same actors and the same characters that they use for all time. They're going to have to dig into the comics. They're going to have to create new comics, new twists on these stories. So not every one that comes out, not every new version of the Goblin, not every new version of the Hulk or Iron Man is going to appear in the MCU, but you can guarantee that some of them will. So this is where, speculation is tricky. It's not easy. People message me all the time and say, how do I know what the next hot comic is going to be? Well, there's tips, right? There's stuff that you can gauge it by, but nobody really knows for sure. If it was easy, it wouldn't work. So let's look at the census for this book and look at some sales prices over time. All right, so here you can see on the CGC census that there are 1,518 total 9.8s, including signature series, 3,600 total graded copies on the census. And what's interesting about that is this is actually relatively low of a number for a modern book. This book came out in 2008. If we look at a similar book, it's not a perfect example, but Young Avengers #1, which came out in 2005, there's quite a few more copies on the census, almost twice as many, with 5,179 total graded copies on the census. But my point that I want to make here about the census count is 2005 and 2008 were a very different atmosphere than 2022 and going now into 2023. And what I mean by that is I think that print counts are going to be a lot higher today than they were back in 2008, because the census count for Hulk #1 to me seems relatively low for what it was, something that was such a hot Marvel #1, and it only has that many copies on the census. I think that during the comic book market boom and all of these new retailers and all of these new collectors and all of these new #1s, those census counts and print counts are probably going to be pretty crazy. But we might be moving into a time of opportunity here in 2023 with the recession and the comic book market correction, where people are actually not speccing that hard. And there are opportunities of new Marvel #1s of tried and true characters that kind of slip under the radar. And I think over the next year, maybe two, we may have some really good opportunities to buy in at the pre-order level for books like this that follow these trends. But it's something to be aware of. Think about the print count. Try to play the tape through, okay, of what's the print count of this going to be, because it comes into play. If the Hulk #1 had 10,000 copies on the census, it wouldn't be a $300 or $400 book today. But it is tricky to figure it out. It's tricky to know which books are overprinted and which books aren't going to be overprinted. Sometimes you don't know until after FOC. So here we are looking at GP analysis at Hulk #1 for cover A. And here I want to say, here's another random tip that came out of this, is in March of 2008, the same month that this book hit the shelves, a 9.9 copy sold for $150. And there's only 3 9.9s on the census compared to 3,600 total copies on the census. So somebody got an absolute steal for this book for a 9.9. And the random tip here is, if you see a Marvel #1 and a 9.9 very close to release date for around $150, just pick it up. Just hedge your bets and pick it up. I mean, in worst case scenario, you paid $150 for a 9.9. And one of the things is that when books first come out and are sent to CGC to get graded, they probably have a slightly higher likelihood of getting a 9.9 because, it's brand new. I think there's some psychology that goes into this, that CGC, if they get a big stack of 100 books that they knew came out last week, I think there's some psychology behind that where they might say, let's give 1 or 2 of these a 9.9 because it's so new, it's brand new, there's nothing wrong with it, right? But that's a topic for another video. Here are the 9.8s. You can see the most recent sale was $360. And I wanted to click in here and show over the years how this book has performed. So here, if we look at 2008, this book was selling for $20 or $30 consistently for the whole year when it came out. There's sales here in February. The reason for this is sometimes the shelf date is like a month prior to the indicia date. So the indicia date on this is March. It may have actually hit shelves in January or February. So that's sometimes why you see sales you know, before the actual release date, and sometimes, you know, it doesn't line up on the CGC label. But here you can see consistently, look at this, $20, $20 to $30, you know, every once in a while there's a higher sale than that, but consistently around $20 or $30 for this book. The first full year it came out, and then in 2009, not much better. 2010, not much better. 2011, not much better. This book just didn't go anywhere. Nobody really got excited about it until these later years when the characters and the team developed in this story started to spark a little interest, right? In the comics, we started seeing it developed in the comics. And then, of course, we started getting the heavy speculation for the MCU in 2019, 2020, and up until today, which is another point that this book hasn't necessarily come to fruition yet, right? Like, we don't know the future of this book. Personally, I think, you know, if you're holding on this book as a spec, I always say take your profit when you can, you know, sell it now. Don't wait for an announcement, especially in today's market. If you're in the green, now is as good a time as any to sell this book, but it could still have, you know, future lives, and who knows the trajectory of this book going forward. So if we look at these years, you know, it wasn't until 2020 when we really started getting consistent high selling prices for this book, 12 years after the book's release. And so this is the main point that I want to make with this video, is timing is everything. It's one of the most important concepts in comic book collecting and speculation. Time your buy-in and time when you sell, right? And this applies to collectors and speculators, because if you're a collector, you owe it to yourself to try to time the buy-in and get the books that you love and want to collect at the lowest possible price so that you can have a bigger collection and have better books in your collection. So this example presents a lot of interesting points. First of all, how much time do you want to invest in a comic book spec? I think there's several different ways you can go about this. One, when you buy into a spec, at least be thinking about the time frame, right? I think that too many of us don't think enough about the time frame at all. I see a lot of people that buy stuff pre-order, and then the week it comes out, if it doesn't sell for double cover price, they dump their books and say this was a stupid spec. Well, it's actually kind of rare to buy something pre-order and be able to flip it, you know, for double cover price the first week it comes out. I mean, those are the type of things that a lot of us hunt for, but, you know, it would behoove you to be a little bit more patient than that, especially when you look at all the people that, you know, were dumping this book for years after it came out for what they had into it, a lot of times less than what they even paid to have the book graded. So at least be thinking about the time frame. And I think there's two main time frames you can do. You can set a time frame. You can say, okay, I'm buying Hulk #1 and I'm gonna give it 3 years, okay? I'm gonna buy it at cover price. I'm gonna sit on it for 3 years. If after 3 years it's still going nowhere, there's nothing in store, I don't wanna store it anymore because storage space is always an issue, then dump it at 3 years. Or you can say, I'm gonna buy into this spec and I'm gonna hold it until it pays off, because you never know how long it's gonna take. This one took 12 years. Other books take longer than that. A lot of books take way less time than that. So I think, you know, you can pre-establish what your time frame is, or say no time frame. I'm gonna hold until it pays off. So another random tip about timing on this is, if you consider this spec, say something like Hulk #1, Red Hulk, but you consider the timeline and you think this is a really good spec, but I think it's gonna take 10 years to happen, maybe keep a list and come back to it, buy that book 4 years from now when it's nearly the same price as it is today, and then you have your money tied up for less time, and you have your, you know, space in your house tied up for less time. So to sum everything up, number one, first and foremost, the most important thing out of this video is timing is everything. And there's a lot of nuance to that, and you can break down that phrase itself in a lot of different ways, but just consider timing. Just be thinking about it. At least be thinking about it. Instead of thinking, this is a good spec, I'm gonna buy it now. Think about it, this is a good spec, but how long is it gonna take to pay off? How long do I wanna hold on to this book and go from there? Tip number two is, do pay attention to new iterations of tried and true characters in the MCU, because the MCU is always evolving. They're gonna constantly need to change directions and pass mantles to different characters. So do pay attention and time your buy-in accordingly. Thank you as always for sticking with me to the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like for your chance to win a 12-cent X-Men book. This is your last chance to get in on that giveaway. And head over to BryceComics.com and sign up for the newsletter for your chance to win another 12-cent X-Men comic this month. Each month it's it's a new slab, you'll get first access to new inventory. I have a new mystery box that's dropping after the new year, and you'll get first access to it over there. I hope to see you over on Whatnot on Thursday for a crazy $1 start CGC slab giveaway show bonanza. Thank you as always. Happy holidays, happy new year to all of you, and we'll catch you in the next video. Bye.
Bry's Comics.